In the world of three-row family SUVs, you have several options from basically every country on the planet. The benefit of this plethora of options is that the market is so competitive that no manufacturer can afford to put out a crappy option. So with that, we're going to look at one of the best from Japan, the new Nissan Pathfinder in its 5th generation, and one of the best from Korea, the Hyundai Palisade. Let's go for a drive. We're going to start with a very familiar face to the channel, the Hyundai Palisade. This thing came out in 2018 and it's been dominant ever since, and how can it not be? Now, we've done videos and covered this thing at its launch in 2018, and then we did it again last year for its facelift with this new calligraphy trim, but if you missed those videos, we're going to hit the highlights, and we're going to start where we always do, and that's under the skin. The Palisade is Hyundai's flagship SUV. It's 3 rows and 4,300 pounds, and that's a lot of car to move around, so you need a pretty decent sized engine. And interestingly enough, this Palisade only comes in one engine configuration, and that configuration is a big naturally aspirated V6, 3.8 liters to be precise. But this is 2022, and something of this size driving around without the aid of turbos or battery power sounds basically illegal. Now, you do only get the one engine configuration, and it's a big naturally aspirated V6, and it makes 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, which aren't supercar numbers, but 0 to 60 is still good for just under 7 seconds. However, if you bought a Palisade, you probably don't really care too much about 0 to 60. What you're probably more concerned with is fuel economy. And while this thing doesn't have turbos and it doesn't have a hybrid system, it does run on an Atkinson cycle, so it's not like it doesn't make an attempt to be efficient. The result is about 23 miles per gallon in mixed driving. Now, would a CVT help? Sure, but the 8-speed auto is more natural for people, and it's honestly just better. You can order a front-wheel drive Palisade, and that'll bring some weight down and help with your fuel economy, but at least here in Wisconsin, especially in the winter, you're gonna want H-Track all-wheel drive. And then there's the ride. And then there's the ride and the handling on this thing. And like we said, this is a big 4,300 pound, 3-row flagship SUV, and it's really good behind the wheel. The suspension is damped in such a way that it soaks up mild road imperfections to the point where you don't even really notice it, and it still is stiff enough to hold you up in a corner. When we were doing the initial media drive in Idaho, we were driving around these mountain roads, these huge switchbacks, and it felt like it was handling like something that was 1,000 pounds less than what it was. I've really liked being behind the wheel of this thing in the past, and I really like being behind the wheel of it right now.
This is now the 5th generation Pathfinder and one of the newer vehicles from the new Nissan. And one of their first orders of business was to kind of make it feel more luxurious in here. One of the big changes towards this upscale feeling actually came last generation, where the Pathfinder ditched its 4x4 body-on-frame roots for more of a car-like unibody architecture. This obviously aids in the driving experience to be a lot more relaxed and easy. However, they didn't completely abandon their roots. You still get a commandingly high up feeling behind the wheel, and I think that you kind of sit more on it than in it. The suspension is almost as well damped as the Palisade, I would say. The cabin is really refined and quiet, and it actually does feel a little bit more roomier in here than the Palisade as well. You actually have more headroom. Well, let's talk about what powers this 4,600 pound 3-row beast. Shockingly, just like the Palisade, the Nissan only comes in a 1-engine configuration, and that configuration is a naturally aspirated V6. It's only a 3.5 liter as opposed to the 3.8 in the Hyundai, and it also makes less power, 284 horsepower, and 259 pound-feet of torque. The Pathfinder for this generation also gets rid of the terrible CVT transmission for a 9-speed automatic. Interesting, quirky fact. So it's 300 pounds heavier, it's a smaller engine, it makes less power, but it has one more gear. So 0 to 60 should be, you would expect, a little bit slower than the Palisade, but no, it's actually quicker. 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds, which is a few tenths quicker than the Palisade, which, I mean, obviously you guys probably don't care too much about that. The other cool feature of this Nissan Pathfinder is its towing capacity is actually 6,000 pounds, which is about 1,000 pounds more than the Palisade. But again, no one buying a Pathfinder really cares about 0 to 60. It's fuel economy they care about, and the Pathfinder with 4-wheel drive returns 22 miles per gallon in mixed driving. People buying this also care about the ride and comfort, and that's a place that this Pathfinder does quite well, as long as you turn the auto start-stop feature off. So let's meet up with Matt and compare.
Okay. It is a nice and cold day in Wisconsin, isn't it?
Yeah, feels like the Arctic Circle, honestly.
Okay, so what we have here, brand new, a couple years old. I'm gonna start with mine, because this is the calligraphy, the top of the top. The name is a little bit up its own ass, but hey, you know, when you're selling luxury with a Hyundai badge, you kind of need to be. With the calligraphy trim, I actually really like it. I think this is the best way that the Palisade gets spec'd. You have a really specific grille with kind of like a triangle pattern. I think it's really nice. You've got these waterfall DRLs, which are kind of the first, Hyundai was kind of the first one to do that back in 2008 when they brought this, or 2018. The wheels are specific to the calligraphy. I mean, as far as the design, like, it's a 3-row family SUV. There's not a lot in terms of design that you can do to make it like passionate or exciting. And then the same thing kind of on the back. You've got interesting LED taillights, but I don't know, it's nice. It's a decent look. I like the Telluride better in terms of the sisters, but like, it's a good look, and this is a good spec for it. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the I agree. I prefer the Telluride as well, but I do really like the headlights and taillights of the Palisade.
Yes. And sorry for the camera, but we're facing this way to try to keep the wind out of our
mics. To block
mics.
the wind, yes.
All right, tell me about this Nissan.
Yeah, so obviously it's completely redesigned for 2022. I think that they did a really nice job. I love the color on this. They got the floating black roof. The front fascia's, you know, a bit more masculine. You have your LED light there as well.
It's more aggressive than the Palisade for sure.
Yeah, you got a little bit more plastic trim than you do on the Palisade. Obviously, I think this is more rugged, or
yeah, that's kind of where it got its roots, though, because the first 3 generations were body on frame. It was very truck. It was Frontier, Titan, you know, and now it's a little bit more luxed up. So
yeah, they definitely went. And like, speaking of luxed up, on the back they actually have, you know, Pathfinder on the back. So
the script.
A lot of companies, I feel like, are trying to do that now.
Yeah, and it's something simple as this. Like, this is the new Nissan badge. This is one of the first, like, new generation Nissans that they brought, like this and the Rogue, and like, it's ushering in the new generation, the post Carlos Ghosn. So I think they did a good job. It looks really, really good, and it seems luxurious on the inside. Should we check it out?
Yeah, let's get inside.
All right.
Feels good to be up here. All right, so inside the Pathfinder.
It's nice. It's nice in here.
I think what immediately strikes me is the two-tone, the saddle brown, and the like black accent features. Really like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of materials here. Like, even this like faux brushed aluminum on the vent is really nice. Yeah,
it looks nice in here. The other thing I really like is you have a lot of room for storage. For water bottles, it fits like the Nalgene and your, I don't know what brand that is.
I don't know what this is, thermo flask or something, but this has only ever fit in my 4Runner.
Yeah.
In no other car. We test how many cars on Downshift. It's never fit in any of the cars. Yeah. This is like the first one, so that's really nice.
Yeah, you have a lot of great luxe features: heated seats, cooled seats, heated steering wheel. You also have like the rear controls right here. A lot of buttons that you would often use are out for you and just on display.
Like that. It's just easier to use, especially when you're driving and on bumpy pavement. It's hard to navigate a touch screen. So
yeah, really, and on that, I would say that this is a bit sluggish.
Yeah, the color levels are nice. The black levels, the contrast, especially on like your digital cluster, but like on the infotainment system, it is a bit laggy, and that can be frustrating.
Yeah, the Bose system is okay. I was honestly expecting a bit more, and I think one of the reasons why it doesn't sound as nice is because I think in the previous generations, they actually had a subwoofer in the trunk floor. They removed that for that little cargo area that you saw where you can put like muddy cleats and things like that. So they decided to actually put the the main bass power in the doors, which I think is why it doesn't actually sound as good.
Yeah, it's not a dedicated woofer anymore. It's
Yeah.
just kind of built into the mids and the tweeters. Yeah, it's kind of meh, but it's just nice in here.
You thought that the seating position is a bit weird. I was
do
okay
think
with
the seating
it.
position is weird. I don't love it. I get this feeling that I'm sitting on it rather than in it, and it's not anything like overtly bad. It's just a little bit of a weird feeling, and I don't think you felt that way. So maybe it's just me.
I didn't feel that way. I would say the two gripes I have with this car is the remote start is really finicky. I read that there was a software update, so I'm not sure if it just like wasn't deployed to this tester or what, but that, and then also the fan speed for the size of this car, I feel like it...
Oh, for the HVAC?
Yeah, it's like not high, like high feels like a medium to me.
All the way up. I get like deafened by some cars when the fan's all the way up.
Yes, like I
this
feel like
is just not.
In most cars you never actually fully blasting heat, but in this one it's like you have to absolutely do that. So
yeah, I don't wait. I don't know if you talked about this in your behind the wheel, but I was having issues with the transmission, where I would go from reverse to drive and it would take a year, and then when I had auto start stop on, it would take a year when I took my foot off the brake for the car to turn back on and start going.
the reverse to drive, it did take a little bit longer than I guess I was accustomed to, but
It was just odd.
the auto start feature, I actually never got to use it because it's so cold here. I'm having the heat blasted and it won't cut the engine off if you're draining a lot of power.
So if you have the heat all the way up, which we just discussed was not high enough.
Yeah, which was not high enough.
It takes so much juice from the battery that you can't then use the power for the starter to get the auto start stop to work.
Correct.
Nice.
Yeah. So in the back, so you actually have the cabin seats in the second row.
Yeah, the captain's chairs are nice.
The captain's
they
chairs.
look really good.
Yeah.
The perforated leather.
They're really
nice.
comfortable. There's so much room, headroom back there. You have a lot of leg room back
you've got
there.
the big panel roof, brings a lot of light in.
Yeah. The third row is obviously quite small. It's made for kids, not adults. I think one thing that is cool this year in the redesign, they widened it up back there, so there's a lot more hip room back there, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And I think like my favorite new feature that they have here is, I think parents are obviously going to love this one, but the second row captain chairs, there's a one-touch electric feature that you can do from the rear doors, or if you're in the third row seat, which basically will lift and then move the seat forward. The nice thing is it doesn't change the backrest angle, so you can basically do it. It can be done with a child seat installed.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah.
That's super nice, especially because people that are going to buy this are going to want to use the third row. They bought it for that reason, and they probably have kids, so that's actually really nice.
Yeah, so they'll probably have car seats in the second row, and they're like 4 or 5-year-olds will sit in the way back.
Sure.
And if you're worried about your kids pushing the button when they're in the third row, it has a feature where it won't actually let that function work if there's more than 30 pounds in there. So most car seats weigh like 25 pounds. So if it's just a car seat, it'll move. If it's anything heavier than that, it won't move. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature.
Look at you doing like consumer advice.
Don't have kids, but figured, hey,
good journalism.
If people have kids, they'll probably want to know.
Good journalism. Can I say one thing about the third row / trunk? One, with the third row up, the trunk is very, very small. Sure, you get the little cubbies underneath, but it's very small. And two, with the third row up and the headrest in the third row up, it takes away a lot of rearward visibility.
Yeah.
So if you're going to drive this thing, unless you have people in the third row, I would leave it down most of the time.
Yes, I agree. A lot of wide room back there, though.
Yes. Can we go into my super luxurious Hyundai now?
Let's do it.
All right. Are you on customer support?
Yeah.
This is real journalism, people. This is what happens behind the scenes. We are on customer support with Nissan while the camera's rolling.
I was worried I'm going to smell like an onion.
Can I ask you a very real question?
Yeah.
Out of your top 5 fears in life, is smelling like an onion within the top 5?
No.
Because you talk about it a lot.
I do.
Are you not getting anything back from Sophia?
Nissan's customer service is bunk on a Saturday.
This is good. This is good.
Oh wait,
research.
let me get you that information, so we'll see.
Welcome to the most luxurious Hyundai you've ever seen. Thoughts?
I really like it. Yeah, I agree. It is definitely more luxurious than the Pathfinder.
I do miss the like multi-toning interior on the Pathfinder. That saddle brown is really
Yeah,
nice.
the color scheme in there with
Yeah.
the two-tone is really nice. Yeah, this is like just all black everything. I do really like the suede though.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get little kind of attention to details in the Nissan with like the faux brushed aluminum vent. But in here, it's like I think you just get like another level. Like you get this suede or micro suede headliner that's really, really nice. All of these like trimmings are aluminum. It just feels a little bit more solid and put together almost. Whereas the Nissan kind of almost feels like it's a house that was flipped, where they spent a lot of time on things that you'll notice right away. But the longer you look at stuff, the more you'll see like, oh, well, this is off half an inch, or this is, could have had a little bit more attention to detail, or that sort of thing. But I don't know, both of them are nice.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about this is I really like the technology stack that you get in here. The Pro Pilot on the Nissan, very good.
It is good.
We've spent a lot of time with Hyundai's Highway Driving Assist, not just in this, but in like a bunch of other cars in their lineup, and it's very good every single time. We haven't tested many Nissans yet, but the Pro Pilot in the Pathfinder is very good, even in like snowy roads. I wouldn't necessarily leave it on.
Yeah, I would say from what I experienced, they are neck and neck, honestly.
Yeah,
it was
they're pretty
really good.
They're pretty close.
The Harman Kardon in here sounds a lot better than the Bose in there.
Yes, and I think the speakers covers I think are cooler in here too.
Yeah,
they're very nice. They're very nice.
You got captain chairs in the back.
Yeah, so you get captain's chairs in the second row. The one thing that kind of falls off a little bit is just the feature that you mentioned in there where you can leave the child's seat and the chair will kind of just like come forward.
Yeah.
This doesn't have that. It is easy to get into that third row, but if there's a child seat, it's going to be a bit of a faff.
The back angle of these seats basically changes, is what you're saying.
So
this is
it
in
reclines.
that. Yeah, it reclines.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a little bit of a bummer, but again, do you have a child seat? Is that going to be a big deal to you? Yes, no, maybe, whatever. The third row, I think, is definitely decently spacious. They're pretty similar. I think you have a little bit more width and hip room in yours, where you might have a little bit more headroom in this.
It's leg room.
Yeah, leg room. But you do have the secondary sunroof. So whereas the Nissan, you have one sheet of glass basically that goes
panel,
right about to the headrest of the second row. This, you have a dedicated sunroof for your front seats, and then you have a secondary sheet of glass that extends behind the headrest in the second row, so you get a little bit more air and a little bit more sun and light in that third row.
Yeah, and in your third row, it's all automatic buttons that you have to lower it and lift it. And also you can actually control the second row from the trunk, whereas in the Pathfinder, the third row is manual.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think they're very close together. I think there's just a little bit of attention to detail with like the stitching in the door cards and like that sort of thing in the Hyundai that just makes it a little bit step above in terms of luxury anyway.
Right.
But with that, should we hit the final thoughts?
Yeah, let's do it.
At the end of the day, while it's impressive how nice Nissan has made the Pathfinder, it's almost $52,000 as tested, which is simply too much. I had the same issue with the calligraphy when I tested it last year. Both of these cars with all-wheel drive and top spec like we have testers here are within $50 of each other from MSRP before you start adding options, which puts them on the same plane. But for me, the Hyundai feels a little bit more upscale and thus a little bit more worth the money. And that warranty though.
So what's my take? Which one should you get? Well, it's going to come down to which features matter more to you. Is your family more of an adventure-seeking, tow your boat and UTVs around, or do you guys want something that's a bit more luxurious that comes with more advanced safety features and an unmatched warranty? The choice is yours.